Is it possible for an artist to lock in the top position on Spotify Global without releasing a single new song throughout the year? Or have we been misunderstanding how the power of modern music truly works all along? That question exploded precisely when Spotify released its update on December 24, 2025, a date that should have been quiet, yet instead turned into one of the most seismic moments in the history of K-pop soloists. At a time when many believed Jungkook's dominance had reached its natural limit, the numbers appearing on the screen struck the logic of the global music industry head-on. More than 6.22 million streams in a single day, securing his position as the most streamed male K-pop soloist globally once again, and not for the first time. This is the point where the story is no longer merely about statistics. It is about how an individual, who is technically in a hiatus period from the biggest group in the world, asserts his existence in a way that feels almost provocative. Jungkook released no new songs, launched no massive promotional campaigns, and did not appear with an aggressive comeback strategy, yet the numbers on Spotify moved as if they had a will of their own. Many analysts began to wonder whether this was purely the power of the fanbase, or whether something deeper, more structural, and even more unsettling for an industry accustomed to controlling popularity cycles was at play. The explosion of public reaction happened almost instantly. On Platform X, formerly known as Twitter, the fan account at @JongGoldenLight was among the quickest to capture the moment, calling Jungkook King Kook, who had conquered Spotify. The statement shared on December 25, 2025 was not merely an emotional celebration, but a symbolic declaration of cultural power. Accompanied by official streaming data and a photo of Jungkook from his Rolling Stone photoshoot, the post spread rapidly, as if confirming that this was not a fleeting victory, but the manifestation of a fully matured global status. Yet this is precisely where the real surprise begins to take shape. This achievement was not an anomaly, not a momentary spike commonly triggered by a new release or sudden virality. Throughout 2025, Jungkook was consistently recorded as the most streamed male K-pop soloist on Spotify, despite having an empty release calendar. Within the old paradigm of the music industry, this condition should have been impossible. Without new content, public attention typically shifts, charts decline, and even the biggest names slowly fade. Jungkook, however, did the opposite. He endured and even strengthened. Data compiled from various sources show that in 2025 alone, Jungkook surpassed 2.1 billion streams on Spotify. This figure not only placed him at the top of the male K-pop soloist category, but also made him the only K-pop artist to reach that level within a single calendar year. At this point, the narrative can no longer be narrowed to the issue of a loyal fandom. This is a cross-border, cross-cultural, and cross-language music consumption phenomenon, in which songs like Seven and Standing Next to You continue to be played by listeners who may not even follow the internal dynamics of K-pop. Even more astonishing, in November 2025, Jungkook's total streams across all credits surpassed 10 billion, a first-ever record for a Korean soloist. This figure does not stand alone, but instead serves as the foundation for a dominance that continued through the end of the year. When December 28, 2025 arrived, Jungkook was recorded as maintaining his position as the most streamed male K-pop soloist for 56 consecutive days with 5.81 million daily streams. Many assumed this would be the saturation point, that the graph would begin to flatten. Yet 2 days later, on December 30, 2025, the number instead rose to 6.23 million streams. As if challenging anyone who dared to predict his decline, fan reactions also evolved into something more organized and almost ritualistic. Accounts such as @FormaGoldenster and @Apathetic2025 consistently shared daily updates, not only as a form of support, but also as a public archive of an era. Jungkook's discography began to be described as golden, not merely because of his album title, but because of its ability to generate a stable, sustainable streaming flow that is nearly immune to time. Amid the noise of an industry constantly chasing new trends, Jungkook instead became a fixed point, an anomaly that forced everyone to pause and ask, what exactly are we witnessing? This dominance does not stop at Spotify. On the Circle Global K-pop chart, Jungkook was recorded as the most streamed male K-pop artist with a total of 7.1 billion streams throughout 2025, placing him 7th overall among all global artists. His album is also cited as the most streamed among male K-pop soloists, a fact that further reinforces that this achievement is not the result of a single hit song, but of the strength of a complete catalog. Each track functions as an entry point, and every new listener has the potential to become part of a continuously rotating ecosystem. What makes this story even more emotional is the context of BTS itself. As the group entered a hiatus to focus on solo activities, widespread speculation emerged about how each member would survive within an increasingly competitive global landscape. Jungkook, long known as the Golden Maknae, now seems to have turned that nickname into a living thesis. He not only survives, but locks in the top position on Spotify Global in a quiet yet forceful manner. There are no grand declarations, no victory speeches, only numbers that continue to rise. It is at this point that the first chapter of this story ends with a question far greater than simply who sits at the top of the charts. Is Jungkook redefining the meaning of success for K-pop soloists in the digital era? Or is he opening a new chapter in which loyalty, catalog depth, and emotional resonance outweigh conventional promotional strategies? The answer is not yet fully visible, but one thing is certain. Since that Spotify update appeared, the world of streaming has never stood in the same place again. If the first chapter was about shock, then the second chapter is about the collective unease of an industry that is beginning to realize that what Jungkook is doing is not a coincidence, nor merely a fleeting wave of fan fanaticism. The question has now shifted and become far sharper. How can this dominance continue to repeat itself, day after day, when the unwritten laws of the digital music world say otherwise? This is where Jungkook's story enters more sensitive, more academic, and at the same time more provocative territory, because it begins to disrupt the grand narrative of how popularity is supposed to work. Over the past decade, the global music industry has been built on patterns that are relatively predictable. New releases trigger spikes, promotion keeps the fire burning, and then charts gradually decline until the next cycle begins. In the context of K-pop, this pattern is even more extreme. Comebacks are designed like military operations, complete with teasers, countdowns, and chart targets. Jungkook, however, throughout 2025 chose to exist outside that pattern. There was no solo comeback, no new song, no algorithmic push that usually accompanies major releases. And precisely because of that, when his name continued to appear at the top of the Spotify Global chart, many parties began to feel uneasy. The figure of 2.1 billion streams in a single year is not merely an impressive statistic, but a structural signal. It shows that Jungkook's music is not consumed as an event, but as a habit. His songs live in daily playlists, in morning commutes, in workspaces, in quiet nights, and in personal moments that are never recorded in industry reports. When someone plays 7 or standing next to you repeatedly, they may not be supporting an idol, but simply choosing a sound that feels familiar and safe. This is where the real power lies, far removed from trending topic campaigns. This phenomenon also explains why Jungkook's streak feels almost impossible to break. 56 consecutive days at the top position are not the result of a single community working intensely for a short period of time, but the outcome of an organically distributed global listener network. On December 28, 2025, when 5.81 million daily streams were recorded, many analysts predicted a natural decline, as the holiday season usually makes music consumption patterns unstable. Yet that prediction collapsed 2 days later, when the number instead rose to 6.23 million. This surge sparked new speculation. Has Spotify's algorithm itself locked in Jungkook as an entity that is difficult to displace? Behind the scenes, discussions began to grow among digital music observers. Some suggested that Jungkook has reached the phase of an evergreen artist, a rare status in which songs no longer depend on release momentum. This status is usually held only by legendary Western artists after decades-long careers. The fact that a Korean soloist achieved it within a matter of years raises a much larger question about a shift in the center of gravity of global pop culture. Is K-pop no longer merely a regional trend, but already a permanent part of global music consumption? Fan reactions, on the other hand, moved along a different emotional path. For ARMY and Jungkook's listeners, this dominance is not merely numerical proof, but emotional validation. Every daily update shared by accounts such as @FormaGoldenster or at apathetic 2025 feels like a reminder that their support has not been in vain. What is interesting, however, is that these posts are no longer defensive in tone. There is no longer a need to prove that Jungkook is deserving. The numbers have spoken, and that collective confidence is felt in every narrative being built. Amid all of this, the album Golden has slowly changed status. It is no longer viewed merely as Jungkook's first solo project, but as the foundation of a new era. Each song within it functions like a pillar supporting the entire structure. Listeners who enter through a single track often end up exploring the whole album, creating a sustainable streaming cycle. This is why the album is cited as the most streamed among male K-pop soloists, a claim that does not rest on hyperbole, but on cross-platform data. What makes this chapter even more complex is how Jungkook's dominance is also reflected beyond Spotify. On the Circle Global K-pop chart, a total of 7.1 billion streams throughout 2025 placed him 7th overall, an achievement that is rarely discussed yet highly significant. This shows that Jungkook's music consumption is not concentrated on a single platform. He is present everywhere, from global streaming services to regional charts, creating a consistent footprint that is difficult to erase. Yet it is precisely at this point that a more emotional and, for some, more unsettling question emerges. If Jungkook is able to achieve all of this without intensive promotional activity, what does it mean for other artists who rely on conventional strategies? Will the industry be forced to reevaluate how it builds the careers of K-pop soloists? Or is Jungkook an exception that cannot be replicated? A rare combination of timing, talent, and emotional resonance that happen to converge. This second chapter does not offer a final answer. Instead, it deepens the mystery. Each day Jungkook remains at the top of Spotify Global, those questions grow louder. This dominance should not exist according to the industry's old handbook, yet in reality it continues to repeat itself, as if challenging anyone to find a flaw within it. And just as many begin to think they have understood the pattern, the story prepares to enter its next phase, a phase that may determine whether Jungkook will be remembered merely as a phenomenon or as a turning point in the history of global digital music. At this point, the question is no longer about how long Jungkook will remain at the top of Spotify Global, but about what that peak itself means after he has managed to lock it in a way that is nearly flawless. When daily streaming numbers continue to move above 5 to 6 million without any significant pause, that dominance stops being daily news and begins to transform into a permanent condition. This is the quietest yet most dangerous phase for the industry, because when something becomes normal, its impact runs the deepest. A total of more than 10 billion streams across all of Jungkook's credits in November 2025 is not merely a personal record, but a historical statement. He became the first Korean soloist to reach that figure, and this fact shifts the boundary between what is considered possible and what was previously dismissed as excessive. In the past, achievements of this scale were attached only to global artists with decades-long careers. Jungkook reached it in the midst of a transitional period, when BTS was on hiatus and the K-pop landscape itself was searching for a new direction. It is this contrast that makes his story feel almost cinematic. There is an emotional dimension that is often overlooked in data analysis. For many listeners, Jungkook does not exist solely as a singer, but as a voice that accompanies a particular phase of life. His songs are played not out of fandom obligation, but out of personal need. This is what makes fans' calls to continue streaming 7, Standing Next to You, and the entire Golden album feel different. It is not a panicked effort to defend a position, but a collective ritual to preserve something that has already become part of everyday life. Predictions about 2026 have also begun to surface, and nearly all of them carry an optimistic, even bold tone. If 2025 could be dominated without any new releases, what will happen when Jungkook returns with fresh material? This question carries its own shock value, because the answer has the potential to shake global charts on a scale never seen before. Yet behind that speculation lies a new awareness that Jungkook has moved beyond the phase of proving himself. Whatever he does next will not be read as an attempt to chase numbers, but as a strategic move by an artist who is already at the summit. This is where a legacy begins to take shape. Dominance on Spotify Global, a strong position on Circle Global K-pop, an album that has become a benchmark for male K-pop soloists. and a stable listener base across the world all merge into a single grand narrative. Jungkook does not merely take advantage of the digital era, he helps shape it. He becomes living proof that emotional resonance, catalog consistency, and global presence can outweigh dependence on traditional promotional cycles. In the end, the greatest surprise of this story does not lie in the millions or billions of streams, but in the shift in perspective that he has created. The peak is no longer understood as a temporary stopover, but as a space that can be inhabited, maintained, and inherited. Jungkook, the golden magne, has transformed the top of Spotify Global from a mere target into a symbol. And when the history of digital music is eventually rewritten, this moment may be remembered as the time when a K-pop soloist not only reached the top of the world, but also redefined what it means to stand there. What remains most striking is how quietly this transformation has occurred. There was no singular moment of announcement, no industry-wide declaration that the rules had changed. Instead, the shift unfolded incrementally, hidden within daily updates, steady numbers, and the slow realization that Jungkook's presence at the top was no longer an exception but an expectation. This subtlety is precisely what makes the phenomenon so powerful. When dominance arrives without spectacle, it embeds itself deeper into collective consciousness, reshaping standards before resistance can even form. In this sense, Jungkook's reign is not just a triumph of popularity, but a case study in how modern stardom evolves, less as a burst of noise, and more as a sustained gravitational pull that quietly reorders the landscape around it.